In recent years, especially since 2017, the topic of UAPs or Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena has moved from fringe curiosity to serious global conversation. Governments now admit these objects exist. Pilots have chased them, sensors have tracked them, and scientists are finally asking questions out loud. But the deeper you look, the more complicated the phenomenon becomes. This isn't just about mysterious craft in the sky. The UAP subject contains multiple layers, some familiar, some deeply challenging. And to understand it a little bit more, we have to begin with two foundational aspects of the phenomena. The nuts and bolts aspect is grounded in the idea that UAPs or UFOs are physical craft, built by someone, made of something, and operating under laws of physics. Maybe advanced physics, but physics nonetheless. Across decades of sightings, people have consistently described spheres or orbs, discs or saucers, ovals, tic-tacs, cigar-shaped objects, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular or organic objects. These often show sharp edges, geometric shapes, or symmetry that suggests deliberate engineering. We also see seams, domes, portholes or windows, and sometimes landing gear impressions. These descriptions appear across time, culture, and geography.
You have done probably more research on UFOs than anybody in the world. Do you believe that we on our planet have had some kind of visitors from outer space?
Let's back up just a little bit, David. There are three incontrovertible facts about this whole UFO situation that even the most ardent skeptic can't refute. One is that UFO reports exist, and they persist. They come from all over the world. 133 different countries we have reports from now in our computerized data bank. And the third is that many of the reports, but though not all, have been made by highly responsible witnesses. So that is our starting point.
In order to better organize research data related to these physical crafts and reduce misidentification, a system of classification was developed by Dr. J. Allen Hynek, an astronomer and UFO consultant for the US Air Force Project Sign, Project Grudge, and Project Blue Book. The system was based on the UFO's observed characteristics, categorizing them by proximity and type in his 1972 book, The UFO Experience, A Scientific Inquiry. In the book, Hynek outlined categories for both distant sightings and close-range encounters, creating a standardized system for classifying reports that brought a degree of scientific rigor to the field of ufology.
Distant sighting classification. These were for objects seen more than 150 meters or 500 feet away. Under this classification, we have nocturnal lights, which are lights in the sky seen at night, often pulsating or moving erratically, that couldn't be immediately explained as known celestial or atmospheric objects. Daylight disks, solid-looking, metallic or whitish objects seen in daylight, defying conventional aircraft descriptions. Radar or visual tracked objects. These are objects simultaneously tracked by radar and seen visually, often exhibiting extreme speed or maneuvers. Close encounter classification. These were for close-range sightings within approximately 150 meters or 500 feet, and subclassified into three types. Close encounter of the first kind. Visual sighting of a UFO physical craft within 150 meters or 500 feet, showing considerable detail. Close encounter of the second kind. A UFO event that leaves behind physical evidence, such as ground traces, burnt vegetation, or physiological effects on witnesses or animals. Close encounter of the third kind. a sighting that includes the presence of beings or entities, whether inside or outside the craft.
Now, it's important to note that other researchers later proposed categories like CE4 or abductions and CE5 or human-initiated contact, but these lack Hynek's original scientific foundation and aren't universally accepted. We'll cover all these probably in a future video. UAPs frequently exhibit flight characteristics that challenge conventional understanding of aerodynamics, propulsion, and physics. Observations, including those verified by US Navy radar and sensor data, have led to the categorization of a set of observables that define these anomalous behaviors. The UAP observables referenced in the proposed UAP Disclosure Act are a specific set of performance characteristics that were intended to differentiate UAPs from known attributed objects. Instantaneous acceleration absent apparent inertia. Objects appear to accelerate, decelerate, or change direction instantly, without the gradual build-up you expect from engines, control surfaces, or momentum. Hypersonic velocity absent a thermal signature and sonic shock wave. The object travels at hypersonic speeds, but does not produce a sonic boom, does not heat up as expected, and leaves no visible exhaust or plasma sheath. Transmedium travel. The object can move seamlessly between space to atmosphere, air to water, without slowing down, changing shape, or reconfiguring. Positive lift contrary to known aerodynamic principles. The object remains airborne or maneuverable without wings, rotors, jet exhaust, or buoyancy like balloons. Multispectral signature control. The object can appear on radar but not visually, be visible but not on radar, show up in infrared but vanish optically or shift signatures dynamically. Physical or invasive biological effects on close observers and the environment. Close encounters are associated with burns, radiation-like injuries, neurological symptoms, temporary paralysis, or altered consciousness. Environmental effects like scorched ground and electromagnetic disruption. In short, these are physical objects interacting with our environment in measurable ways. Many of the strongest nuts and bolts cases come from trained observers such as Navy pilots, Air Force radar operators, astronauts, commercial airline captains, surveillance crews, and on and on. These are individuals accustomed to identifying aircraft under stress, at speed, and in poor conditions. When they say this was not ours, it carries weight.
Did this object come up on radar or interfere with your radar or the USS Princeton?
The Princeton tracked it, the Nimitz tracked it, the E-2 tracked it. We never saw it on our radars. Our fire control radars never picked it up. The other airplane that took the video did get it on a radar. As soon as it tried to lock it, it jammed the radar, spit the lock, and he rapidly switched over to the targeting pod, which you can do in the F-18.
From what you saw that day and what you've seen on video, did you see any source of propulsion from the flying object, including on any potential thermal scans from your aircraft?
No, there's none. There's no IR plume coming out. And Chad, who took the video, went through all the EO, which is black and white TV, and the IR modes, and there's no visible signs of propulsion. It's just sitting in space at 20,000 feet.
In your career, have you ever seen a propulsion system that creates no thermal exhaust?
No.
Can you describe how the aircraft maneuvered?
Abruptly, very determinate. It knew exactly what it was doing. It was aware of our presence, and it had acceleration rates. I mean, it went from 0 to matching our speed in no time at all.
Now, if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do these maneuvers that you saw, would it be capable of doing that?
No, not even close.
And just to confirm, this object had no wings, correct?
No wings.
Now, was the aircraft that you were flying, was it armed?
No, never felt threatened at all.
If the aircraft was armed, do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no. Just on the performance, it would just left in a split second.
It looks like that we have a problem here that needs further investigation.
Yes.
This perspective raises technological and engineering questions. What is the propulsion method? How do they tolerate extreme G-forces? What materials can withstand these maneuvers? Is this advanced human technology or something non-human? Now, this is where the nuts and bolts conversation usually ends in mainstream discussions. But if we stop here, we miss half the story. Because UAP encounters often include elements that make no sense, elements that don't belong in a conversation about metalcraft at all. This brings us to the second pillar of the phenomenon. If nuts and bolts experiences are about hardware, then high strangeness experiences are about the inexplicable. Some researchers describe this side of the phenomenon as the part where nobody wants to talk about. Others describe it as the key to understanding everything. High strangeness reports involve objects or phenomena that don't behave like physical things at all. For example, lights that instantaneously appear and vanish, objects passing through solid matter, craft changing shape mid-flight, spheres splitting into two or merging into one, vehicles that shrink, dissolve, or flatten into 2D planes, objects that appear small on the outside but are much larger on the inside, apparitions that resemble both machines and living organisms. These reports raise the possibility that the phenomenon might not always be fully physical, at least not in the way we understand physical. High strangeness in UFO lore also refers to encounters that go beyond flying objects, involving bizarre phenomena like abductions, missing time, telepathic communication, paralysis, strange creatures, poltergeist-like activity, and consciousness-altering experiences. Often described as deeply personal, psychologically impactful, pushing the boundaries of normal explanation and suggesting a deeper, possibly interdimensional or psychosocial aspect to the UFO phenomenon.
The Betty Andreasson case began on January 25, 1967, in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts, when Betty Andreasson reported that a glowing disc-shaped craft landed outside her home and small gray beings entered the house while her family was allegedly placed in a suspended state. Under hypnosis years later, she described being taken aboard the craft, undergoing a medical examination, and experiencing a highly symbolic, almost mystical journey, including passing through a beam of light to another realm and witnessing a phoenix-like bird that disintegrated and was reborn from ashes. Andreasson's narrative blended classic nuts and bolts UFO elements with strong spiritual and visionary themes, including references to Christian symbolism and out-of-body experiences. Southern France, 1968. A physician, who preferred to remain anonymous, experienced a strange UFO encounter during a stormy early morning. He witnessed two structured elliptical UFOs moving in perfect synchrony over a valley, emitting rhythmic flashes of light that seemed to be sucking in atmospheric electricity before their beams fused, and the two objects physically merged into one without collision. The unified craft displayed mechanical yet surreal features, cycling red bands like television scan lines, antenna-like rods, and a glowing segmented underside, before tilting, shining a beam at the witness, and dematerializing with a loud crack, leaving behind a drifting cloud and a luminous thread shooting skyward. Immediately afterward, Dr. X's chronic war injury and fresh leg wound were inexplicably healed, his limp vanished, and he entered a state of partial amnesia, punctuated by prophetic sleep-talking that was bizarrely fulfilled when he later fell on the stairs and recovered his memory. Days later, an unexplained triangular mark appeared around his navel, following a dream of a triangle, then manifested on his infant son as well, recurring periodically for years. The case combines physical craft behavior, apparent matter merging, healing, missing memory, precognitive elements, and recurrent geometric body marks. An intricate blend of technological spectacle and symbolic, almost paranormal motifs that epitomizes the phenomenon's most disconcerting high strangeness. Reports associated with Skinwalker Ranch, a property in Utah's Uinta Basin, describe a dense cluster of high strangeness phenomena spanning decades. Witnesses have claimed sightings of UFOs and glowing orbs maneuvering silently over the property, massive wolf-like creatures reportedly impervious to gunfire, poltergeist-style activity inside the ranch house, mysterious cattle mutilations marked by surgical precision and bloodlessness, electromagnetic interference affecting vehicles and equipment, and portals or windows in the sky from which unknown entities allegedly emerged. Researchers connected to the ranch documented incidents involving invisible forces, disembodied voices, radiation-like injuries, and objects appearing and disappearing abruptly. What makes the ranch especially notable in UFO lore is the convergence of phenomena typically treated as separate categories. Cryptids, UFOs, hauntings, poltergeist effects, animal mutilations, and physiological harm, all occurring in the same geographic location, suggesting not just isolated sightings, but an environment where reality itself appears unstable, blending physical, psychological, and folkloric elements into one of the most concentrated modern cases of high strangeness.
Many high strangeness encounters involve changes in perceptions such as distorted time, missing time, heightened awareness, paralysis, telepathic impressions, and an overwhelming sense of presence. Witnesses often report a sudden silence in the environment, no insects, no wind, no ambient sound. Some describe an intense emotional or psychological impact, either awe or dread, that seems external to them. Others describe a profound sense of belonging, deep connection, or universal compassion. Some experiences even include communication, often non-verbal.
As I get closer to this pig site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. This intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. As I came over this object for the pic, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
What's it saying, the object? Tell me what you're feeling.
Like I said, it was an overwhelming sense of sadness, happiness.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance.
So the question is the phenomenon interacting with human consciousness directly? High strangeness encounters are also where entity reports appear. These range from humanoids, small beings, tall beings, shadow-like forms, glowing figures, beings associated with a UFO craft, beings appearing without any craft present at all. Some witnesses describe living biological entities. Others describe mechanical or robotic ones. Some even report beings that appear somewhere in between, biomechanical hybrids. These reports are controversial, yet they appear across indigenous stories, modern encounters, military reports, abduction cases, and paranormal events.
You said it is a real, something really is going on.
Yes.
But is it what they're describing, abducted by strange beings, that kind of a thing, or is it all psychological?
I don't think it's all psychological. The beings have been described also by people who were not abducted, in quotes, by people who were at some distance. I just spent a week in the Soviet Union talking to research groups there, especially about the Voronezh case, in which dozens of witnesses, not just kids, but also adults, have seen different kinds of beings. But there is a problem with the way those beings are described in this country. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been bombarded by a lot of marketing, of very, very good marketing, to promote certain books and certain movies that introduced the idea that the beings were always 4 feet tall, were always bald and had big eyes. Well, that's one kind that has been described, but it's not the only kind. And many other kinds and it's interesting to speculate as to why the American public is being bombarded by that particular picture of an alien.
Well, why is it?
Well, maybe someone is, there are lots of games being played behind the phenomenon itself. In other words, there is a real phenomenon, but there may be, and here we're talking about the third level, the sociological level. If you could make people expect aliens, you could manipulate public opinion.
High strangeness creates a serious problem for researchers who want UAPs to be purely technological, because many encounters overlap with phenomena that is usually labeled as paranormal, psychic, supernatural, interdimensional, folkloric, or even mythological. This is why some scientists and field investigators argue that UAPs may represent a unified phenomenon that touches multiple aspects of human experience, not just technological. It's tempting to dismiss these elements as hallucinations or exaggerations, but here's the issue. These cases are too consistent across too many cultures, across too many decades, from eyewitnesses who have no contact with each other. And ignoring these reports because they're uncomfortable is the fastest way to misunderstand the phenomenon completely. To understand the full picture, we have to consider both the physical and the anomalous. So now, the question becomes, how do these two aspects, nuts and bolts and high strangeness, fit together? Obviously, they seem contradictory. One suggests technological physical craft, the other suggests psychic reality bending experiences. Are they related at all, or are they different things altogether? Let's look at these possible interpretations. 1. A single phenomenon with multiple expressions. One idea is that UAPs represent a single intelligence or phenomenon, but it expresses itself in different forms depending on context, location, observer, or purpose. Just like water can be steam, liquid, or ice, perhaps the phenomenon has different phases of modes of interaction. A craft or phenomenon appearing physical one moment and luminous the next might not be inconsistent, just differently expressed. 2. Technology beyond our framework. Another possibility is that we are seeing technology so advanced it appears magical or non-physical. Arthur C. Clarke famously said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." If an intelligence can bend space-time, shift dimensional states, manipulate perception, or control quantum effects, then the difference between physical craft and high strangeness might simply be the difference between seeing the machine and seeing the side effects of the machine. 3. Multiple phenomena interacting. It's possible that the UAP phenomenon is not one thing at all. We could be dealing with advanced craft, biological entities, energy-based intelligence, interdimensional visitors, and human misperceptions, all overlapping in ways we don't yet understand. Just like meteorology involves clouds, storms, wind, lightning, and atmospheric layers, the UAP subject may be a system, not a single object. This interpretation argues against a single simple explanation like all UFOs are alien spaceships. Instead, it views the UAP mystery as a complex tapestry woven from interdimensional intelligences, psychological influences on perception, misidentified natural phenomena, and perhaps even advanced unknown terrestrial or future human technology. 4. Phenomena of vast temporal and spatial dimensions. The concept of a UFO hyperobject is a philosophical proposal notably explored by philosopher James D. Madden in his book Unidentified Flying Hyperobjects, UFOs, Philosophy, and the End of the World, suggesting that the entirety of the UFO phenomenon might be a single massive entity that is distributed across vast scales of time and space, making it impossible for humans to fully perceive or comprehend. This concept draws heavily from the work of philosopher Timothy Morton, who coined the term hyperobjects to describe things like global warming or an oil field that are so large in temporal and spatial dimensions that they defeat traditional human ideas of what an object is. Madden applies this to the UFO phenomenon, suggesting that what humans perceive as individual UFO sightings, alien encounters, or other anomalous phenomena are merely phase states or local manifestations of a singular underlying hyperobject. This unified entity, which Madden sometimes referred to as Magonia, might include the entire spectrum of nuts and bolts and high strangeness experiences. The UAP subject isn't just about spacecraft, and it isn't just about weird experiences. It's a phenomenon that sits at the crossroads of physics, psychology, biology, sociology, technology, and consciousness. The nuts and bolts aspect gives us solid ground, physical craft, radar data, military encounters, and aerospace mysteries. The high strangeness aspect forces us to expand our frameworks, phenomena that defy physics, entities, missing time, and interactions with perception itself. At its deepest level, the UAP phenomenon intensifies the long-standing philosophical tension between materialism and idealism by forcing both frameworks to confront their explanatory limits. Materialism assumes that reality is composed fundamentally of matter and energy, with consciousness emerging as a secondary effect of physical processes. Within this view, UAPs should ultimately reduce to advanced technology, misidentified natural phenomena or unknown, but discoverable physics. Idealism, by contrast, places consciousness at the foundation of reality, treating the physical world as dependent on mind, perception, or information. From this perspective, UAPs may function less as independent objects and more as manifestations shaped by observation, cognition, or symbolic meaning. The tension arises because UAPs consistently exhibit both physical characteristics that demand objective explanation and experiential or consciousness-linked qualities that resist purely mechanical accounts, positioning the phenomena precisely at the unresolved boundary between mind-first and matter-first models of reality. If we embrace only one aspect, we misunderstand the phenomenon. But if we examine both together, we begin to see the outlines of something much larger, something intelligent, something interactive, something that has been with humanity for a very long time, and something we are now only beginning to approach scientifically. The UAP mystery isn't solved yet, but we are at least asking the right questions. And the first step is acknowledging the full complexity of the phenomenon. both its nuts and bolts and its high strangeness. Thank you for watching. Until next time.